In Florida, former Governor Charlie Crist is running to get his old job back. That is not that unusual in politics. What is unusual is that Crist was a Republican governor who lost a primary in his re-election bid 4 years ago, then ran as an independent and lost, and now he's running as a Democrat. And his downfall, at least as a Republican, can all be traced back to this exact moment. 2009, President Obama visiting Florida after a hurricane, promising storm aid. Crist shook the hand and then hugged the president, and that was it. The end of Crist as a Republican for all essential purposes. And Ellis, you're the co-writer of Crist's new autobiography, The Party's Over, How the Extreme Right Hijacked the GOP and I Became a Democrat. It comes out February 4th. My first question is, how do you co-write an autobiography?
You know, politicians live interesting lives. They're not always professional writers. So Charlie and I teamed up and wrote the book. And I got to tell you, you're absolutely right. This is an amazing thing the guy's attempting to do. And we won't know until November whether it works. But no one has, in modern times, been elected as a governor from two different parties. He was always a very liberal Republican, a moderate Republican. And in fact, one of the themes of the book is that Crist really hasn't changed that much, but that the Republican Party has shifted and gotten so much into the grips of these Tea Party extremists that in a way, he really didn't leave the Republicans. Like Ronald Reagan said about the Democrats, the Republicans left Charlie.
He is a Democrat now. Is he really a Democrat, or is he just a non-Republican who's running for office?
No, I think he's a Democrat. Well, I mean, one of the things about the Democratic Party is it's a big tent. You know, there's a variety of views that are allowed to occur inside the Democratic Party. And I would say he's a moderate Democrat, like he was a moderate Republican. You know, consumer-y, environmentalist, very pro-education, doesn't believe in telling women what they should do with their bodies. So the kinds of things that used to be possible to believe inside the Republican Party.
I look forward to reading this book. Although the only thing I would add on there is how I lost a primary to Marco Rubio and decided to become a Democrat. That's the thing that I think has to be addressed.
Clearly, a crucial part, we spend several chapters in the book talking about it, was that when he ran in that Senate race in Florida in the Republican primary, he came to realize that the folks who were in charge of that party down there, he didn't have a prayer. A moderate guy like Charlie Crist was never going to win a race like that, and he scrambled for his life, and now he said, listen, upon reflection, the place that I am most comfortable, the party that shares most of my values, not every single thing, but most of my values, is the Democratic Party.
But Rubio was endorsed by Romney and by Rudy Giuliani because Crist would outright lie to them about the endorsement. I mean, there's a back and forth there, I think, that kicks in.
Every politician has to balance the sort of selfish interests of their own career versus what is a deep-seated belief in public service. Every politician I've ever met is convinced that they're doing this for the general good. But in a case where somebody's changed parties, the accusation of doing it for selfish reasons is more pronounced than it is in other cases. Arlen Specter in Pennsylvania a few years ago. How does he handle those people who say this is just all about Charlie Crist?
Well, listen, I would accept your premise that most politicians do things based on selfish calculations. I mean, they want to win. They'd rather serve than be the loser. You know, all these guys. And none of these things are religious decisions. I mean, they're political decisions. And so I think he says that he has this set of core values that he's maintained throughout a long career. He's one of the most well-known people in Florida, has had very high approval ratings, amazing connection with the people there. And he says, listen, I need a home. I need a party. Politics doesn't work when you run alone. You need people to run with you. And that the Republicans are no longer hospitable to people like that. I think it's a mistake. I think Republicans ought to welcome moderates. But sadly, they don't anymore.
Toward that end, should a guy who's in Crist's position do what Crist is doing, or should he try to change the party that he's in and make it a bigger tent?
Good luck.
He lost and went home. Why does he change parties and go? Why not either come back to the party or just why run for office again? Is it the limelight he needed, or is it does he feel he's the best person to lead the state at that point?
Well, clearly. And you look at the current governor. I mean, Rick Scott, he has the lowest approval ratings of all the 50 governors, and Charlie's about 10 points ahead in the polls now. We'll see how it looks in November.
Tom?
Florida's a Republican state for the most part.
Oh, it's right. I would say it's, in presidential elections, it tends to go Democratic lately. The legislature is overwhelmingly Republican, so, it depends on how you define it a little bit.
So he's really got a shot at winning.
Oh, he's going to win. I mean, the polls have him up 8 or 10 points right now.
Oh, that's why
And
the
also-
Republicans are
and
so
also
upset with him.
Governor
Okay,
Scott
I got
is
it.
very unpopular. Governor Scott is one of the most unpopular governors in the state or in the country.
It's going to be, I mean, seriously, no one knows how it's going to turn out, but I will say it is going to be a fascinating race. Anyone who loves knockdown, drag-out, rough politics, it really may be the premier election.
Scott spent how much money last year on that?
I know,
race
he's
before
promising to spend $100 million this year.
out of his pocket, a lot of it.
A lot of it.
Thank you very much. We'll wrap up RFL right after this. Stay with us.